Alright guys, welcome back to another Fortnite video, and in this one we have so many awesome things to talk about. So many fun things that have to do with the story of Season 7 and especially with the Ice King. I've found some very interesting clues and stuff that you for sure want to hear. I mean, it has to do with the Ice King and maybe like his powers and how it's affecting the map and stuff like that. How the Ice King and Ragnarok are connected. That's right guys, I found a bunch of clues that have to do with that and just a bunch of other things as well that we're going to be going over in today's video, trying to explain the whole Ice King thing. And also guys, since it is Christmas, and Merry Christmas guys, but yeah, it's the holidays and my friends over at GamerLink are actually doing a holidays giveaway, and there are some pretty awesome prizes, so you can like choose which pack you want to enter for. And I mean, there's some good ones there, like the PC prize pack comes with a 144 HZ gaming monitor, a HyperX Alloy Elite RGB keyboard, and a bunch of other stuff as well. But if you want to enter for something else, like there's a PlayStation pack, an Xbox pack, and also a Nintendo pack. And if you go over to the Gleam site, there's a bunch of different ways to earn extra entries. So if you want to enter that, I will leave a link down below in the description, so be sure to check that out. But getting back into the video, be sure to hit that like button down below and also comment what has been your favorite new item from the 14 Days of Fortnite event. Like maybe it's the little Merry Munchkin guy that just came out. But yeah guys, getting into the video itself, let's start it off strong because we have a ton of clues and theories to go through. And the first of which we'll try to explain, is all of the snow and stuff on the map. So yeah guys, our first big clue, as you may have noticed, or if you haven't gotten onto Fortnite yet today, the entire map suddenly was covered in snow. That is right guys, it was no longer just the iceberg biome, but the entire map is now covered. Now I'm making this the day of, so I don't know if that'll go away like after Christmas. I don't know how long it'll stick around, but I still think that is very interesting and will play into some of the clues and stuff I have coming up. But keep that in the back of your head guys, because first of all, we have to lay the groundwork for some of these theories of like how I think the Ice King is connected to this new like snowy, well, everything covered in snow, and how I think he has like some special powers which we need to go over. But forming our first connection with that, I think the Ice King is behind this, and I think one of the other clues that points towards that is just how the iceberg came to the map in the first place. And also guys, these are just theories, they aren't confirmed yet, but there's a bunch of clues pointing towards them, so I think they may be likely. But yeah, like with the iceberg, because as we know pretty much for sure, the iceberg brought the Ice King, and obviously it somehow, you know, crashed into the map itself and made that new biome and all of the new areas with that. However, something that I find very interesting is that how in the world would an iceberg cover that much of the map if it was moving as slow as it was moving? As you guys remember, it took weeks for it to keep on slowly getting closer to the Fortnite island that we play on. So with that being said, do we really think it's possible that it by itself, just ramming into the side of the island, could have covered that much of it in snow and also brought with it that big, you know, castle and stuff like that? Personally, I do not think so. So I think the Ice King might be involved with this particularly, and I think he might have some sort of powers that help him control snow and ice and stuff like that. And I think he could have used his powers to control, you know, part of the iceberg and cover that biome in snow and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden recently, maybe he used it to cover the entire map in snow. So he's trying to like take over the Fortnite map or something like that. I do think that's a possibility, and there's a couple of other clues that point towards that, and we'll circle around back to that in just a second here, but that's definitely pretty important. But yeah guys, I think I know what you may be thinking. The Ice King having powers, isn't that a little bit far-fetched? I mean, have we really ever had a character that has special powers? Well, no, we really haven't, besides like Thanos in that special limited time mode, but that wasn't part of any story for Fortnite. However, that's not my only clue. Considering how he could have covered the map, another clue can be found in the description for one of his items. So going over the Ice King himself, the description for the Ice King, and this isn't, you know, particularly important. Instead, his pickaxe has like the important, you know, description that I'm gonna go over in just a sec here. But yeah, for the Ice King himself, his description is, "All hail the ruler of ice and snow," which is pretty straightforward. Obviously, ruler, you know, he's the Ice King, of course he's gonna be the ruler. But I do think that's very interesting that it says specifically ice and snow. So indeed, he is, you know, the ruler of like maybe the iceberg biome, or in particular, you know, the ice and snow. We're gonna say that a bunch, I guess. But that is a very important detail. And wouldn't it make more sense if he was called the Ice King if he had powers to control like ice and stuff like that? However, if we keep it going with his pickaxe, which is specifically called the Ice Scepter, and take a look at the description of this is where I think it starts to get super interesting, because the description for this item says the frozen world is at your command. That's right guys. Now that could mean two different things. The first of which is that, again, he's the king of the ice biome biome or whatever you want to call it, but that could also mean that he commands the ice itself, so he may be able to control the ice and things with this scepter. I do definitely think that's a possibility, because again, why else would the entire map be covered in snow, and why would, you know, the iceberg biome form? Because again, it doesn't seem likely that the iceberg itself could have covered that much of it. But yeah, there's another thing with that, and that is actually the Infinity Blade. So the Infinity Blade does point towards, you know, some special powers being in the game itself. Obviously, that item was a special power item, and it's connected to the Ice King. It's at his castle. That's where you pick it up. He's even holding it in the loading screen. And considering like the powers it gives the character, it gives them extra health. They can suddenly, you know, jump super far. It does give them some sort of powers, I guess. So with that being said, again, if this item gives the wielder some special abilities, I would say it's possible that the Ice King again has the special ability to control snow and ice and stuff like that. So yeah, I do think he's behind the snow biome and stuff spreading, but that is just like my first part of this theory. The second part that has to do with how he's connected to Ragnarok and stuff like that is super important as well. So let's go ahead and jump into that, guys, because, you know, there's a ton of stuff to go over. We have so many more clues, and these I think are more straightforward clues. So first of all, let's start off by exploring his castle a little bit. And the first thing I want to take note of is one of these recent areas that just opened up within the castle. But yeah, if you go down to this one room, you will find this table right here. Now, this table at first doesn't seem like anything too special, but there's actually something super important about it. And that is if you take a look at the sides of the table, or near the sides of the table to be specific, you can see some special symbols. Now, as of right now, I don't know exactly what these symbols mean. It could be very similar to how the cube had some special symbols and we didn't know what those meant as well. And similarly, these symbols, you know, might not have a specific meaning, as in like you can translate them, but I do think they connect to something else. And that is if you take a look at these chairs right here. Notice that the tops of the chairs, each one of them has a symbol that corresponds to a symbol on the table. That is right, guys. If you go around to each of the 5 symbols or each of the 5 chairs and take a look at them, the symbol on the chair connects to the symbol that is on the table. That itself, I do not think is just a random detail. Whoever designed these chairs decided to make each of them have a different symbol and then place them around the table so that they line up with the symbols on the table itself. So yeah, guys, but that then asks the question, who is sitting at this table? Well, again, we know that there's 5 seats, so there's got to be, you know, 5 people sitting at this table. The first of which I think is pretty obvious. Obviously, the Ice King has to be one of the people sitting here, but then that leaves us to fill in the blanks for the other 4. Now, the second person that I think sits at this table, and this one I am a little bit less sure of, but we'll explain that in just a sec here. But yeah, one of the possibilities is Glimmer. That is right, the skin that just released in the item shop yesterday, and thanks to all of you who have been using my supporter creator code in the item shop. Seriously, you guys are awesome, and again, that code is TheLlamaSir if you want to help support me. But yeah, if you take a look at Glimmer, there's definitely some connections to be made. Now, she is quite a bit different from the Ice King, and she's not part of the same set, so that's why I'm a little bit unsure of if she's actually one of the characters that sits at the table, but I do think it's interesting, because if you do take a look at her back bling, the glimmering cloak, the description for it says tailored from ice and snow. And as you guys know, the Ice King has a lot to do with ice and snow, so I do think that's a connection that can be made. But on top of that, if you took a look at Twitter, when Fortnite tweeted out about this skin, they said that this queen holds a grudge. So if she's the queen in this story, then we're still waiting on the female counterpart to the Ice King itself as part of the same set. If there even is one. I mean, there usually is, like Omega had a counterpart, Ragnarok did, stuff like that. So I mean, I'd assume there'd be one. So I don't know, maybe there's a princess that's going to be here. But either way, I do think it's a possibility that Glimmer could be one of the people that sits at this table. However, keeping it going here with the ones that I think are most important, that is both Ragnarok and Valkyrie. That is right, guys. I think they could be connected to the Ice King, and there's a bunch of stuff pointing towards this. The first of which is pretty straightforward, is that the Vikings village, where apparently Valkyrie and Ragnarok come from, is also from a snowy area. From back in season 6, it was one of the only areas that had, you know, some snow on it, and it did have a similar snowing animation to the iceberg biome that is on the map right now. So it is possible that they could be from the same area as the Ice King, and I'll circle back to that in a bit. On top of that, though, one of the other things that I think is super important, and I noticed this when I was exploring the room with the table in it, the fireplace has a fire in it, but it's not a regular fire. It is a light blue fire. That is right, guys. On top top of that, if you take a look at some of the torches on the walls, those too have a light blue fire. Now, what's interesting about that is that Valkyrie and Ragnarok have clear connections to that. Like, if you take a look at Valkyrie's picture, and I don't have the skin, but I believe the eyes sort of have like a fiery light blue glow to them, which definitely could be a connection to that. On top of that, I think Ragnarok sort of has that as well. But either way, if that still doesn't make a connection for you, just take a look at this right here. If you pull up Ragnarok's pickaxe Permafrost, you can very clearly see that it is very similar to the fire that is in the Ice King's castle. I mean, come on, guys. It looks so similar. It's got that same type of fire, that same color to it, and also it's called Permafrost. So with all of that together, guys, I do think that Valkyrie and Ragnarok would be two of the people sitting at this table. So again, that leaves one seat open, but I think that could possibly be for, again, the female counterpart that most likely is coming for the Ice King. But yeah, guys, that then leads us to the question, because if Ragnarok and Valkyrie came through a rift, how is the Ice King here? Well, it's definitely possible that he just went through a rift as well, but showed up at a different area within the Fortnite world. Now, why do I think that? Well, because if you take a look inside of his castle, I find it a little bit odd that some of the stuff he has is clearly from the Fortnite world itself. Like, for example, inside of his castle, he has the pizza pit picture just sitting in his castle. Why would he have that picture? It's definitely possible that maybe a rift teleported that picture, you know, to him or whatever, and that's how he got it. On top of that, there is also a meteor rock in the corner, which I find very odd as well. So maybe the rift brought a meteor rock to him, and then he took a rift to our current world and was on an iceberg trying to find Ragnarok and stuff like that. So overall, guys, I know that's a lot to take in, and again, these are all just theories and stuff like that, but I do think that Ragnarok is connected to the Ice King, and I think it's possible that maybe the Ice King is trying to find them and maybe find a way to try to get back to their time. Or again, my separate overall theory is that he's trying to take over the entire map, and he could be finding his friends in order to do so. I think it could be one of those too. So yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, be sure to subscribe for more fun videos coming out in the near future. But you can also check out some of my previous videos here, such as on the left, going through 9 secrets only experts know in Fortnite, and then on the right, another fun video, and then on the right, some update news that you should definitely check out. But yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I will see you in the next one.